Clean that dish faster.
I'm trying to turn it off.
Dude, my brother's the worst at doing dumb shit like that. It's been twice, bro, where he's trying to make himself breakfast and the beachy stove isn't even on way. So he just has like the eggs on the pan and he's waiting forever.
But usually it's because another one's out.
No, that's actually.
Welcome to the 8-Bit Couch, the place to talk about all things geek, nerd, and scary. My name is Chris, and today's episode is part 2 of the lore of the devil. As I said in the previous episode, this isn't an easy subject to talk about, which I personally find kind of crazy. People would rather talk about the darkest, craziest topics like aliens and shadow people and possessions, etc. But, I mean, you talk about the devil for a second and everybody loses their shit. But it's fine. Everybody has their fears. After 3 long weeks of hunting down these two lovely angels, Ariel and Abar, or more like just Ariel and whatever the fuck Abar is. Also, for a few moments, we're joined by Ariel's brother, Isaac, which you might hear sometimes on the background. But I finally got them on the show to be able to record on this topic. So we set off again to explore the lore of the devil on this part 2.
So, here I am with Miss Ariel. After she is so much and high in demand, everybody wants to listen to her. So, I did the impossible. I chased her down through the mountains, through the holes. I fought off Abar, and I eventually am being able to record her right now, just so that we can do this very chaotic topic of the lore of the devil. It's been funny, actually. I've had so many things that have been fighting me on being able to record people. Like,
really?
Just to be able to record you, to record Fabio, to record Nora. Like, it's been like a pain. It almost feels like something's always fighting against me to try and record stuff. Because Fabio, for example, when we were recording him, and he was driving to Houston, the call kept on dropping.
Oh, wow.
And they were static all the time. Right? And with Nora, it finally took like some very like heavy personal stuff of hers to finally like give us a chance to talk.
That's insane.
And you have been teasing you for 3 weeks now?
Sorry.
I've been teasing you for 3 weeks. I think it probably feels like pretty much all of July. Could be just all of July.
I think it might be all of
Yeah,
July. I can't remember the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
Yeesh, sorry, y'all.
Damn. Don't you see people love you on the internet? They just want to love you.
Oh, whatever.
They said that your laugh is very contagious.
Oh my gosh.
That they just love hearing you laugh.
That's nice, because I feel like I sound like a crazy, like, I don't know, like a dolphin or something.
No. Or maybe that's what they love about. People love dolphins.
Do they? Do they generally?
I mean, normally.
All right.
Unless it's like those videos of the dolphins when they start humping you. Which,
oh, yeah, that's me. Just kidding.
Ariel, stop humping the phone.
Ew.
Stop humping my phone, Ariel, please.
Oh my goodness.
So anyways, I have a couple of questions here for you, ma'am. And I feel so nervous right now because like it's finally this is happening.
It's finally happening after so long. I'm so sorry. No, it's
I'm
fine.
fangirling right now. So bad. So when we first talked about this topic, actually, it was almost you who picked the topic, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You were asking me about
Yeah.
stuff that would be interesting, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's this thing about the devil, and that I just watched this documentary, and I had a lot of like insight. There's like a lot of background information, like from my family, that swear they've had sightings or like occurrences or interactions, so to speak. So I was like, yeah, I think I might have something to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, we just heard your brother tell us this story, but thankfully, thanks to the magic of editing, we're gonna let you tell me the story instead.
My brother's awful at telling stories. Bless his little heart.
So, anyways, so let me ask you this. Do you believe in the devil?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. What?
Yes and no. So I believe in the good and evil, the duality of man, where there's good, there's bad. It's not so much like of a gray area. It's like good and bad. So to believe in God, you have to believe in the Bible and the teachings of the Bible, because that's the scripture. So regardless of what your religion is, this is something that I learned through like my own like spiritual journey, is regardless of what your religion is, you're going to go off of what's based off of the Bible, because that there is the beginning. That there is God. That's God's writings. And an interesting fact that I learned about the Bible is that in all the hundreds or maybe even thousands of languages that it's been translated to, not one thing is different as far as the stories. The only errors that anybody's ever been able to find is actually punctuation. So a comma here, a period there, things like that. So if you think about it, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like who can really say that this isn't true, that this isn't real? So the actual, I guess story about Lucifer falling out from heaven, being cast out of heaven, I should say, you kind of have to believe that, So where there's God, where there's good, there's evil.
So it's sorry to interrupt you, but so what? And I like what you're saying right now, because in a way, so the way I'm understanding it, as you're telling me right now, is that one thing for sure is true is that Lucifer's story has to be true. At least that part.
At least that part. Whether or not Lucifer is the devil that we've been kind of like led to believe is something different. Is Satan Lucifer? I don't know. I don't know anybody that really knows. And a lot of people can say, well, yeah, obviously, duh. But when you look at the Bible and the readings, like Lucifer was like one of God's most beautiful angels. And yeah, he was upset at God for loving humans more than he loved angels. And that's why he was cast out. But nowhere does it say that, like God made him ugly, or that God, decided that he shouldn't be this beautiful angel anymore. So for all we know, he's still an archangel. Right. Running hell maybe. Yeah. But we don't know what he looks like. And am I really gonna, at the end of the day, are we really gonna sit here and believe that Lucifer is doing all of those things?
Probably not, because he was an archangel, right? And he was like one of the highest angels. But he wasn't almighty. Right. So he can't be everywhere like God is, right? So no. Definitely I don't think also it's him. It has to be of those other hundreds and maybe thousands of other angels that fell, right?
It could be. It could very well be, he can have like his own little, I guess, like circle. Circle.
His own clique.
Yeah, his own clique of
his own clique of emo angels that fell to hell.
That are mad, and they want to take out their revenge on humans. But I can't really sit here and tell you, I believe that Lucifer is in charge of all of these evil doings. So to answer your question, yes, I kind of do believe that there's something out there. But do I believe it's Lucifer? I don't. Right.
No, I don't think it's everything is Lucifer also. I I mean, there's been a lot of other writings from other cultures and history that have said, right, that there's different rings of hell and there's different generals. And, there's all those paranormal experiences that people have had that have mentioned other demons' names. Hell, even, what's his name? Judas. Judas has been mentioned to be even a form of a demon.
I didn't know about that. And
Yeah.
Jesus' story is it's really quite awful.
It is.
It's really quite awful, because Jesus obviously trusted him, and he pretty much sold Jesus out for what?
A
Just
bag
some
of-
money?
yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of
coins.
it, he was just so overtaken with grief that he hung himself.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine being responsible for it? But the thing is that, you think about it, and all of this was already kind of like pre-planned. God already knew what was going to happen. Jesus already knew Judas was going to do this.
Yeah. And it's sad. And I feel like that's why Jesus even forgives Judas, because, like, he knew that Judas was going to have to be that necessary evil in order to have everything happen the way that it had to be. And hell, even Lucifer became Lucifer because that's what it was supposed to be. Maybe he didn't even know what the plan was.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, you're being casted out of hell over, like, maybe nothing.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, God casted him down because supposedly we know that he was jealous of God and he wanted to be the best and he thought he was more beautiful than God. But, like, is that really enough to be casted out of heaven?
I mean, defying God. You're defying God. And then, the whole story about, like, Adam and Eve in the garden and stuff like that. And, supposedly, who's tempting Eve?
The devil, right?
The devil. But does it say Lucifer?
Fair enough. It doesn't say.
It doesn't say Lucifer.
It does not.
And in the Bible, Satan is mentioned so many
By name.
times. Correct.
Yeah.
But where do we see Lucifer? We see Lucifer in the beginnings of the story. I don't think I've ever come across where it says, Lucifer is now going to be called Satan. I personally haven't, and if it does say that somewhere, then, please pardon me. That's just like me and my ignorance. I just don't know.
I can't really think about a time where, like, in the Bible it says Lucifer. It always referred to it as the devil or the snake that represents the devil or the dragon. But I don't remember ever saying it. Lucifer, you bring a fucking badass point.
I've just never, again, I've never seen that. So, yeah, Eve was tempted. Yes, she wound up doing what she did. But at the end of the day, that was going to happen.
Yeah.
God must have known that was going to happen. And, I mean, that's us as humans. We have free will. It's up to us what to believe. It's up to us, how we treat one another and things like that. Ultimately, the whole plan, per the Bible, is to find Jesus, to find God, to find that forgiveness, to find that love and love one another the way Jesus loved. But as far as Satan and the evils that happen, like, there's a lot there that I still don't know about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And again, Adam and Eve again sounds also similar to, again, what we just said, right? Lucifer and Judas, right? Mm-hmm. They're ultimately maybe just, I feel like they're victims, to be honest with you.
They're just pawns, like, in this huge...
Yeah, that they're like pawns of something that just was supposed to happen, but they just didn't know what the plan was. Mm-hmm. But they take the fall. They're like the fall guy.
Yeah, like a scapegoat.
For, like, what was supposed to happen anyways.
Yeah.
Damn.
Isn't that ugly to, like, be put on this earth to know later on that, like, that was the plan for you all along? That's kind of fucked up.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of also how Jesus probably would have felt. It's like, okay, so when I'm in my 30s, I'm going to get crucified.
Well, see, that's
sounds
the thing, though,
great.
Is that in the Bible, like, when he's actually being crucified and stuff like that, he actually says, like, and it's very, very ugly, and it broke my heart. Like, that is, like, what, like, pierced my heart was when he was, like, he calls out to God and he says, like, why have you forsaken me? Like, why are you doing this to me? So even he has his moment of doubt.
Yeah.
He has his moment of, I can just make this all go away. But ultimately, he decides not to because he knew what the end game was. Yeah, he knew that this needed to happen. And that hurt my heart. Oh my gosh. That was just like, oh my God, it tore me apart. It really did.
I mean, that's a big sacrifice.
But that's exactly. And, that's what we're supposed to look at, like for Jesus and stuff like that. But again, I don't know where it ties in, where Lucifer being Satan ties into all of this.
I feel like, again, we demonize the devil or demonize Lucifer more than what he actually maybe even stands for. For all we know, he's just like some wandering archangel. He maybe even does like commits good acts.
Yeah, like we don't know. And I mean, I guess like maybe out of fear, I'm gonna say I don't really want to know because all I do want to know is love,
right?
And not be like tortured in any way. Yeah, so like I definitely I don't want to like follow in Lucifer's footsteps and defy anybody or anything like that. Like, but we don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
And that's scary because we don't know. So we don't know if you could be invoking him, or when you're trying to invoke him, reality, you're invoking something else that's not really even Lucifer, right? You could be opening yourself up to something else.
Well, supposedly the one and only person that's ever conjured up Satan, or maybe even Lucifer, is Aleister Crowley. He's the only person who ever done it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No!
Yep, my dad says he's the baddest motherfucker that ever lived because he was the one and only person to actually summon Satan. Nobody else can. Nobody else has.
How?
I don't know how.
Let's not find out either.
I don't want really to know how. But yeah, and then like growing up, I grew up, Catholic. I'm not Catholic anymore, but I grew up Catholic, and going to my catechism classes on Saturdays. My dad would tell me stories like about like Satan,
mm-hmm.
and about like the kingdoms of hell,
mm-hmm.
and who runs hell and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was maybe just him like saying there's good with the bad, so if you're gonna learn the good, you might as well learn the bad. I don't believe that my dad's like a Satanist in any way. Like he's not like a Satan worshiper.
I was gonna ask this. I was like, I don't know, your dad should have been having these conversations with a 10-year-old.
No, literally, right? But no, so like I guess like he thought that I was like mature enough to understand it. I mean, it didn't scare me at all, I was just kind of like, oh, like, well, that's kind of cool. Not in the way that I was like, oh man, like let me go to the dark side or anything.
Right.
But I was like, oh, okay, like that kind of like gives me, I guess, more of a little bit of a backstory on hell, I guess.
That's not bad. I believe the same thing. I think if we should know everything about good, we should know about bad, because you can't have good without bad. It's just a balance, and it is what it is. So yeah, you should definitely always be aware of what's out there also in the dark. Not just always be talking about God. And it's okay to talk about God. Definitely, you should be talking always about God. Don't say you shouldn't talk about that.
Yeah, right.
Hold on.
Hold on.
This is sounding different. What I'm saying is, I agree. There should always be a balance. You should always be aware of evil, just how we're aware of good. That should be a balance. I don't know if you heard the other episode. Fabio actually sold his soul.
Did he? No, I haven't listened to the other episode.
He sold his.
What a goose!
He sold his soul to the devil for to be able to see the movie Space Jam.
This world.
I was like, dude, you should have at least sold it for like money.
Or like to be in Space Jam, so like you're set up for the rest of your life.
Right? Hell, like to meet fucking Michael Jordan.
Right.
But no, he sold his soul apparently to be able to see the movie. He saw it. He freaked out after he saw it. He's like, oh shit. And he told the priest. And since then, he's always had like a lot of paranormal stuff apparently happen to him. He's just never told me. So he just kind of laid this like surprise on me. I didn't know this. He's had a lot of paranormal stuff happen to him. So whenever you get a chance, listen to the other episode. And because he tells me some of the stuff that happened to him.
Bro.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks, but also it's unfair because, like, I didn't ask for any of this. This is not what I requested. I didn't sell my soul to the devil. Also, and all of these things happened to me. Like,
he was also like a kid. I feel like if you're a kid, you should not be allowed to sell your soul to anybody or sell anything for that regard.
Well, I mean, but wouldn't you think that that's like the purest form?
Yeah.
Because it's a child's innocence.
Yeah, but I mean, also a child, because he's so innocent, I don't think he should have the ability. I don't think any other entity that isn't pure or isn't at that same level should have the authority to claim it if they don't have.
No, for sure.
You know,
like if they're not old enough to consent, essentially.
Consent.
Exactly, because like you're little, you don't know what you're doing. But that's exactly my point. Is that they don't know what they're doing, and I mean, again, you know, like that's the purest form you could ever get a soul.
Right.
Wouldn't it be worth just a little bit more than already a human tainted soul? Like an adult, tainted soul? I think so.
No, I agree with you 100%. I would hope that the rules of the spiritual world take in consideration consent.
Well, I don't want to like break it to you or break your heart, but you know, this is why they sacrifice children.
Oh, that's true.
And I just want to point out that if anybody has ever read the commandments of, I guess, like the Satanists.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like like the Satanist religion. It actually says that you're not supposed to harm like people or children or like animals.
Right. So on that topic, though, Satanists aren't really what they're painted to be. Like
right,
what a
so
lot of the satanic panic times that happen.
That has to be something else. Like what it is, I have no idea what it is. I do not want to know.
Right.
But from what I've read, as far as like their commandments, it's pretty much like, I don't want to say logical, but it's just pretty.
You do you, boo.
You do you.
Yeah.
Don't do harm to anybody.
Yeah.
And if somebody like tries to do harm on you, like fuck their shit up.
Yeah.
But don't do it first.
Right. And I feel like I already live by that. So I'm like, am I a Satanist? Hold on a second. Yeah. Am I a Satanist?
Unfortunately, I should say not. But yeah, so it's just kind of, I don't know. I don't understand really, I guess, where people take like a left turn into crazy town. But
I mean, for sure there's people that have rituals and do very crazy stuff and have killed children and women and so many things
black
for like these what?
Black cats.
Are you serious? Why do the kittens have to suffer?
No idea. Probably because they're already spawns of Satan themselves. But yeah, black cats supposedly. Black cats are used in rituals. That's why so many of them go missing right around Halloween time.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That is creepy and it sucks. Good thing Apollo's an indoor cat. And he's also not black.
I was about to say, isn't he gray?
I was like, he's also not black.
I was like, hold on.
He's also not black. Is that what really happened to Athena? My mom lied to me all this time.
Baby. No, she had whites. She had little white spots all over her, so no.
Okay. What freaks you about the devil? What freaks you out? Like, what scares you about it? I mean, obviously, you already told me a lot of times right now that you don't want to know. But, like, what really scares you that would happen if you found out more, I guess? What's what really terrifies you?
I guess, like, all the death and despair that the Bible talks about. Like, just horrible, awful things happening. I don't want to bring that into my house. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to bring that into my life. I already see, like, so many awful things happening day in, day out to people, to children and stuff like that. And I'm in no way saying that, the devil or Satan or Lucifer has any actions on these people. I don't believe that evil makes them do this. I believe that, it's just the people do this. Not necessarily.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's recording. Okay, keep on.
I was like, wait, you made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry!
Okay, so all the awful things that happen and stuff like that, like, I don't necessarily believe that it's, like, Satan doing it or, anything like that. But I believe that it's humans doing it to each other and themselves, like, it's your choice. It's your free will. It's your free will to do that. Maybe just because you're mad, maybe because you're born with a mental illness and you don't know exactly really what you're doing. I don't believe that, I guess, like that, like demons and stuff like that can make a person do that. But I'm just afraid of maybe the unknown.
The unknown has definitely always scared humanity, and that's why I feel like we can't handle a lot of things that are like behind the veil, right? I feel like that's why maybe things are behind the veil, because we don't have the capacity to understand it. Maybe that's also why we haven't made contact, directly with aliens too, because I mean, our little tiny human brains cannot comprehend or like fathom something so like completely different, and we can barely coexist with people with different mindsets, and even then we go bonkers. Imagine like an entire different being out there that's not human.
Bro, there are people out here that are saying that vaccines cause autism.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, really? How dense do you have to be to believe something like that? And then when you think about it, why would aliens want anything to do with us as individuals, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, is being autistic really, even if it were true, is being autistic like that much worse than having a dead child because they weren't vaccinated? No. Give me an autistic child. I would rather love an autistic child than go grieve over my child's grief.
There's nothing wrong with autistic kids.
There's nothing.
They're
That's
great.
what I'm saying.
They're great humans.
There's nothing wrong with having differences. No. That's what makes people interesting. That's what makes us like worth being here. So I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't get it. People are crazy. People suck. So yeah.
And now we have outbreaks of like
of measles.
that we should not even be having in like close to 2020 at this point. It's ridiculous.
Well, shit that's been like pretty much eradicated is coming back. But yeah, so more to the point is that you're right. How is it that, like we can barely comprehend little things like this? How is it that we can like sit here and fear our child being autistic? It's not a fear. You shouldn't be afraid of it.
No.
But how can you justify that? We can't even wrap our minds around that about like vaccines being evil, and then we're supposed to be able to accept aliens. We're supposed to accept, like that mermaids may or may not have been here. Like that's cool. If you think about it, that's pretty cool.
It is very cool. By the way, we need to do a topic. We need to do an episode about mermaids because I found so much cool things about them.
Okay, we can do it because let me tell you.
I love it. You're bringing the topic to the correct person. That's you're on that thing where you're just in the background.
No, you're fine.
Like right now, and I'm like, yeah, little to bring to this conversation.
No, you're fine. No, but seriously, like I found so many cool things about like mermaids, and I was like, shut up. And because I was just curious. One day I was like, do Mexicans believe in mermaids? And there's like, it goes as back as like a lot of the Aztec gods, and even before the other tribes that predated the Aztecs that believed in these types of spirits that were like the mermaid. So like even within our culture, there's like a big footprint of the mermaid.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't that the mermaid wasn't seen like a half woman, half fish until like obviously Europeans came over, and then they kind of morphed how the mermaid should look. But in our culture, we have we have goddesses that were similar to the mermaid. And the Europeans demonized it because they made them seem like these, enchantresses that would, trick you to see things, and then they would eat you or kill you.
Well, for all we know, but.
For all we know. But again, also, so the devil's demonized a lot, right? I mean, Catholicism, Christianity have like demonized the devil a lot, and I know like it's talked about in the documentary that you guys saw. I saw some other documentaries about it, and all I saw was that like the church just demonizes all the other cultures' beliefs of like these deities that were very similar to the devil. That sometimes they were even like praised to be heroes or like deities of good, of either like for rain, for water, for protection, for protection of kids. There is my goodness, my mind, it's skipping my mind right now, but there's a Greek, he's not a deity, he was half goat, half man. 10 brownie points for remembers.
Oh my gosh. Phil from Hercules.
Yeah. We'll call him Phil from Hercules for now.
No, a satyr.
Yes.
I think that's what they're called, satyrs.
I think that's what they're called, satyrs. And, they got demonized, but they weren't bad creatures. You know, it's crazy how like all these like other iconic big cultural deities were just fine. Everybody was okay with them. There was no problem. There's no possessions. There's no big issues. It wasn't until like Catholicism came over and Christianity came over, and there's like, nope, it's the devil. And then look, oh, he's possessed. And like, there isn't much of like possession records.
It's just like that couple that we know, the one that is former SWAT team trainer, that on the Chinese mythology and the documents show how dragons are mythical, but the Bible still talks that we live among monsters. So how it's written on, in the paintings and stuff like that, China and Asia, having the creatures like that, to me, right away shows the devil, was a creature that lived among us. It's a being that existed among us. And like I mentioned, it's being demonized, it's being edited.
We'll see, but that's we don't know. And in that documentary, they do say that again, like they just started kind of like mashing up these good, or maybe I guess good, because in the documentary to say like that this was for protection or this was for this and that was for that. These idols, let's call them idols. So they started mashing up these idols. And little by little, it started turning into, I guess, depictions of the devil that we know today, like that red man with the horns, pointy tail, things like that. So I think that was just fear again of the unknown,
right?
Because I again have yet to come across anywhere in the Bible that it describes the devil or Satan or Lucifer after he's been cast out of heaven. I again haven't read it, haven't seen it. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. I would like to learn more about it, but it doesn't show it anywhere. So I think it's just fear of the unknown, them saying, okay, well, if you don't come this way, the good way, the righteous way, this is what's going to happen. This is going to come after you. And no, you can't worship that because my Bible says you can't worship any other false idols. You can only worship God.
Right. You
can't worship any other gods, only our God, like only this God. He's the one and true God. So, they kind of started demonizing these other idols, regardless of what they were there for. Like maybe it could have been again, the Aztecs, the Mayans. They had these gods that they prayed to. Even Native Americans.
Yeah.
Native Americans. So like you have to paint some sort of a picture. You have to kind of like instill that fear, which is maybe where that phrase comes from. The fear of God.
Yeah.
You have to instill that fear in order for them to be like, okay, well, let me go ahead and follow the Bible because I definitely don't want to come across that.
Good point, because that's what the guy mentions. And I think that's a huge foundation that the guy has to his documentary in regards to the figure of the devil, Satan and Lucifer. So,
dude, Street Fighter. So we have right now Isaac, who just stepped into the podcast looking like Karate Kid. Ryu?
Street Fighter, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I have to go with Karate Kid.
It was just the color of my skin.
It was Ryu?
It's just Street Fighter. It's Capcom.
No, I know it does, but Ryu.
All right.
I was like,
it looks like probably shorter.
Oh my god!
Yeah. How does he do that?
Yes.
That guy can.
Yes.
See,
Isaac, the picture.
right here, Isaac. There you go. Thank you, Pauly Shore. Thank you, Pauly Shore.
Hello, Pauly Shore.
Thank you,
I
Pauly Shore.
was like, oh, we still waited.
I got it.
You walked into this. Don't run away.
No, I have to.
You have to bring me back that conversation. So there's a conversation about a story that I want to get into. I don't know when it is to bring it in, but
Oh no, bring it in whenever you want, girl, please.
Is it about the topic?
Mhm.
Interesting.
So about like having like the fear instilled in you, the fear of God. I grew up hearing a bunch of stories about what happens to you when you disobey, like when you disobey your parents.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Latinos, we have the cucuy. But we actually have a few more stories where supposedly the devil was involved.
Okay.
So one of them is from one of my aunts, my great aunts in Mexico. So my grandma will now tell me the story about the time that my great aunt was sitting in front of the mirror and she was brushing her hair after dark. Apparently, after a certain time, you're not supposed to, I guess, like play any music.
I
You're
heard
not supposed
this.
to like look at yourself in the mirror
Yeah.
because like you just shouldn't. Like it's ungodly. I guess maybe because you're being vain.
Yeah, I think that's what it was all about.
I think it's just because you're being vain.
You're being vain.
So apparently, my great aunt was brushing her hair in the mirror after dark. It was after a certain time. I believe the story says after midnight, and she sat in front of the mirror. She started brushing her hair, and before she knew it, she saw the devil right behind her in the mirror.
Oh my goodness. How did he look according to her?
He was a man dressed in all black. That he looked very handsome, but that his feet weren't right.
Like warped or like shaped wrong?
The classic image of the
Like
goat
the goat
foot.
feet.
Yeah, the goat foot and the chicken foot. Why it has to be a goat foot and a chicken foot?
foot?
I don't know. But the thing is that that's not the first time that I've heard, the devil having a goat foot and a chicken foot.
Okay.
It's never just been two goat feet or two chicken feet. It's always one or the other, or one and one, I should say. So my second story actually comes from my dad.
Okay.
So the first story originally happened in Torreon, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still in Mexico. The second story happens in Cañitas, which is in Zacatecas.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my dad spent a lot of, I guess, like his younger years. My dad was born in El Paso, so don't anybody go reporting him to ICE, okay? So my dad was born in El Paso, but he used to go travel to Mexico a lot, and he told us a story a long time ago that kind of always stuck with me. And my brother earlier kind of brought it and kind of spoiled the story. But to our luck, my brother actually texted me my dad. Sorry, my dad actually texted my dad. So my dad sent us back a message. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my dad sent us a message about his story. So I could read it word for word if you
Do it.
Okay. So this is from my dad. Okay. Y'all have any questions? I'll give you his number. So he starts, in a land far, far away, there was this pack of Rugrat kids that would come together every year and cause chaos. One night, much like tonight, we disobeyed our elders and left to the corner dirt street to play marbles. The game started at the base of a concrete pole. The only light pole for blocks, so it was well lit. You could not see anything outside of the circle of light, making everything else pitch black. The game was intense, so intense that we did not hear the elder, Grandma, creep up to us to tell us, stop playing the devil's game. We stupid kids sort of laughed it off and continued playing. The game went on, and we started to bet on the game. Out of nowhere, this kid asked, "Can I join you?" We said, "Sure, go right ahead." This kid came into the game winning. He was dressed in old, raggedy clothes, seemed like he had not showered, he was dirty and smelly, smelled like sulfur. Anyway, this kid was sort of sitting on his legs, not really visible to us. He kept on winning until he wiped us out. When it was my turn to collect his winnings, my cousins and I noticed his legs, feet, his laughter. One leg was a rooster, and the other was a goat's leg.
Jeez.
We never ran so fast through the desert in the dark. The shortest route home was running right next to the kid, but he was in the way. So we ran the opposite direction 3 blocks away. The rest of the summer, the sun went down, and we were at home.
Oh my god. But I mean, again, how do we know that was like Lucifer? What if it's another like one of those legions and legions of demons?
Again, like Lucifer and the devil could be 2 different beings. They could be 2 very different entities. Sure, like maybe one can lure us to, commit such evil atrocities that we'll get dragged down to hell.
Right.
But we don't know if it's Lucifer.
Right.
Did you guys mentioned the ancient aliens episode on the devil?
No.
So in that one, their theory of the ancient thing, like what you were saying, like it could be a being or something, is mentioning that was another being that had the intentions to bring technology, knowledge, and delight to mankind.
Prometheus.
Outcast. Yeah, a Prometheus creature that also was seen as the devil because of how he appeared. What looked like flames, the way he looked radiant, and then became outcast by his own tribe of creatures or whatever. So I thought it was a very interesting thing. So right now that you mentioned that, any apparitions of things that may look like people think it's like Satan or a version of Satan,
Right.
that are his creations, his like drones, that are like his mutations of himself to be able to be on Earth, to be able to be, amongst people.
Right.
So that was a very interesting thing as to how it was seen before as an angel, as an entity, like beautiful as he was coming down to Earth. The war that happened between angels and demons in the sky, that was taken as like a battle between the two civilizations, and Earth just witnessing all that, and the one being that wanted to bring offense and knowledge and protect people and let him know that we exist, and just went into the books and was outcasted as that's a devil. That's,
Right.
Never acknowledged as an alien, just a creature that didn't know who he was.
And the Indian people, right? They have similar deities that speak of wars like that, where like chariots of fire, and like there were just all these like deities just clashing in the heavens. The same way that it's also talked about how there was that war between angels and demons.
Well, supposedly, I know we're like getting into aliens, but supposedly
the topic is
God's first creatures,
Yeah.
before angels, so like the very, very first angels, I guess I should say, are now what we know as aliens.
Yeah. That's actually a really big possibility. That's true.
So that's just kind of like a rumor.
I know there's a topic that like aliens is not like
Yeah, so-
like it. I know that I can sidecast that later on in another episode with you.
Like, so like if you were to ask me what I fear more, aliens or the devil, I would definitely tell you 100%.
Yes, she can sit through hours of all these other movies, but if I bring her, can we watch the fourth guy? And then, nope.
Hard no.
It's a hard pass on me.
There's just people who are like terrified of aliens.
Aliens scare the crap out of me because there's just no way that we're the only beings. In
Oh
this
no,
universe.
no, we're definitely not.
So I don't want that on me. I'm
But
good.
she hates
But
my-
demons are not
Yeah.
a possibility.
She hates
I'm not
my-
saying they're not a possibility. I'm just saying, what do I fear more?
Like,
The
that's like
aliens.
genuine fear that what I feel like will be one day we wake up and see news about a big ship above a city, kind of cliche. He's like, no, I don't want that. So she would rather deal with like there's a possession in the house or something, rather than me walking out of the street. Look, there's a ship over San Antonio. It's great.
Nope, I'm out.
I guess because like if there's like a possession, the probability of getting like exorcised is higher. You have at least have like a fighting chance. Unlike if there's aliens, you're like you're fucked. That's it.
You're
Like,
fucked,
they're
like-
gonna fuck.
You're dead.
See, this is us being influenced by movies and books
Yeah.
and radio and all that stuff. Imagine the people back then that had none of that, and they will see.
Weird
You
shit.
know how a lot of civilizations and myths come up was the creature that wanted to bring knowledge to them, and
Right.
they see it as Prometheus, as the devil, Lucifer, Satan, this creature that just always they use the word knowledge, protection, knowledge, the light, bring to an uneducated or unprepared mindset of cultures at the time. So that's why I believe it was written and then it's sort of erased. And it remained just history. But
So isn't that what the apple is?
yeah,
Knowledge.
The tree of knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a tree of knowledge, right?
So I can definitely see that, and I get it. I guess I also side more towards not necessarily the biblical parts, but I do side to the this creatures that existed. Lucifer existed. It was a fantastic creature, just like they mentioned Christ, but the one that came from the heavens, cast
Right.
from the heavens side. So
Yeah, so I would like to, I guess, learn a little bit more. Like I said, I said I believe in this stuff. I didn't say I did it. All I said is I don't want shit coming in my house. But no, so like, I mean, I would like to learn, I guess, a little bit more about it. But at the end of the day, like, my gosh, do I really want to know who Satan is? Do I want to know what Satan is? Do I want to know the difference between Lucifer and Satan? If there is
We're about
one?
to go into Drax version. Do we want to know if Satan is? Do we want to know when Satan is?
I hate you so hard.
So I'll do you one better. What is Gamora?
What is Gamora? I hate you.
Alright, so I had to Drax too.
That's fine. But yeah, knowledge is power, but knowledge is also a scary thing. Because again, like we were talking about earlier, we're not built to comprehend such like crazy shit. I might call it magnificent or beautiful or amazing, because that's not always going to be beautiful and amazing for everybody. It's scary.
I think we are, though. To a certain point, we are. And it just kind of breaks people sometimes. And I think that's why people can be seen as crazy, or, you know, you have mental illnesses. I've mentioned before that that I read somewhere that people with schizophrenia don't have a veil, where you and I might have a veil, you know, even though we've seen things through the veil, we still have a veil. People that have schizophrenia don't have that veil, so they see everything. But because they see everything, they're considered crazy. They have to take medication so that they don't see those things. So it's really crazy to think about it, you know. And it's like, you know, who's to say that we are not built to comprehend it? It just eventually comes down to how we're going to take it. How do people react to stress? You know, sometimes people wind up with PTSD to situations.
Right.
We don't
People
know.
that say, like, Satan told me to kill my friend. You know, like those people that, you know, like you said, they're maybe not mentally, or they see it, but they can handle it like it. I never thought of it like that.
Because we as humans are like magnificent beings, and I don't want to like anger any presence or anything, but we as humans are magnificent beings. The way that we are, the way that our systems work, and then our brains alone, they're amazing. And we only use like 10% of our brain's capacity.
Very little. Yeah. You actually use more than me. Women use.
It's true.
It's true. Women use a higher capacity of their brains than we do. At me as a man, especially after they go after childbirth, their brains change too. You actually become smarter.
Oh my gosh!
You do. You become way smarter.
Then why do I still have mommy brain? Why is this still a thing? Did I get one for the other? Take it back.
Yeah, no, I think the myth is. Yeah.
Oh my god. So I kind of skipped on this question, but I really want to know, like, how do you think the devil looks like? Well, I'm sorry, right? And going back, right? Is the devil really Lucifer? So I guess, how do you really think Lucifer looks like? The all being of evil.
So if Lucifer was the all being of evil, I would imagine that he's a beautiful being. You know, like if he can maybe manipulate the way that he looks, I think that he would maybe still be so vain as to keep the way that his appearances were. Maybe not so angelic, but be a beautiful person, be a beautiful creature. If he can alter his appearance, I mean, that's the only way that I could honestly see him. It could be something else. It could be something dressed up the way that you always wanted. Something that you've always wanted. What do you want? You want a career? You want to become famous? Do you want your ex-lover back? We don't know what it could be. We don't know how it's dressed up to be. We don't know.
How do you see you, Chris?
Oh, me? Oh.
Like, how do you see him? What do you visualize?
I mean,
this kind of plays off, like, her mind was very logical and yet touching to more of a spiritual way of how she sees it, based on what she knows about it, how she feels about it. how do you see it? I know you're more spiritual than me. You're closer to religion than me.
I mean, I talked a little bit about it last episode, but to me, the devil is just really quickly. Also, though, what blew my mind was also Nora's answer on the last episode. She said that the devil to her would look like us, and my answer kind of morphed since then because the devil to me also, I guess, the devil now would look. It used to me. So the devil first to me would look like nothingness, because I'm, as a person, that I've always looked at things in the most logical way possible. Yes, I'm very spiritual and I'm really close to my faith. I still am, like, my mind's always seeking knowledge. That's just how I'm built. So to me, the scariest thing was when I first had my first surgery and I got put under. And when I got put under, there was nothing. It was just black. And I keep telling myself that maybe the reason why I saw black and there was just nothingness is because maybe it was the drugs, right? It disconnected me from, like, the flow to God or whatever. But to be honest with you guys, what I believe the devil might look like, or like evil might look like, would be that, just nothingness.
The void, everything that
The
existed
void.
before God.
The void to me is terrifying because there's nothing else. That's it. That's what evil looks like to me. I don't think the devil looks like that big red freaking character with huge horns. That's not scary. That's like a cartoon to me. What's scary to me is a creature that can look to me from the void and then suck me into it and then keep me there. That to me is the devil. But then again, also it terrifies me to think that the devil could be me too, because sometimes, and like Fugler said it, the devil to him is losing himself to that evil without any restraint, because he doesn't know where it's gonna take him.
Okay, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
I don't know, but that scares me.
It's also like in you know how you have the circles that kind of touch each other, and then you have different areas that kind of combine. So yours is also very like logical, very spiritual, and a religious, you know, way that you grew and go into where the astral plane of like it exists as a void, and it plays on the fear and emotions, and but not necessarily the physical aspect of it.
Like, just telling you about this guys makes my jaw clench, because honestly it terrifies me. Like, I would much rather go to the Catholic hell where there's like light and fire and everything, because at least you're feeling something.
I mean, that's what the Bible says, that you're gonna hear like the gnashing of teeth and see like the fire, you know, like.
That's why again, that actually sounds better to me than nothingness.
Just not existing anymore.
Not existing, not knowing what you are, like losing your complete self of who you are. That's why, like, Alzheimer's to me would be like hell.
Do you think that's why humans have made up such elaborate things such as heaven and hell or the afterlife to cope with the fact that there might be a nothingness?
Ultimately, culture, humanity has always found ways to cope with itself, and it created culture.
Mm-hmm.
It created religion. It created politics. It created all these different mechanisms to try and tell itself it's gonna be okay, maybe. You know, and this is how you'll survive, and this is how you keep yourself sane, because it's too scary, the thought that there's just nothing after we die. Because if you think about it, there's nothing else after we die. In reality, like, there's no heaven, there's no hell or anything. How is that going to affect society? Then people will be like, okay, well, I can kill whoever I want, and I can steal as much as I want, and I can rape as much as I want. Because there's no hell, there's no heaven.
There's
And
no
that would,
consequence to
there's
my
no
actions.
consequences. And that would ruin society. That would like completely ruin society. And that's why like when they say things like when it's gonna be the end of the world and God's gonna take all these good people to heaven and only the bad are gonna stay and it's gonna be hell on earth, moves because at that point you know you're not going to heaven, so you might as well fuck
Who's
shit
to
up.
say we're not already going through the rapture?
Who's to say we're not?
That this is limbo. Earth, as we are living it, is limbo.
Honestly,
That's-
I think Earth
Maybe
is
that's
already
why,
hell.
maybe that's why Mr. Rogers is gone, Bob Ross is gone, Steve
A lot of good
Irwin's
people
gone.
have left, yeah.
The rapture happened and we missed it.
You mentioned a cope mechanism created from like, in many ways and from many, comes from many places. I think that's where I fall. Where at first I didn't know what an agnostic was, and for the longest time, that's what what I didn't realize I kind of was falling into, but more influence in other senses where like to cope with it, if you will. I always believe, I will, there's a God, there's something after we die. I will get to meet him or him, the entity, whoever God is. The respect that I have for that, for that entity, for that love and life that was brought into what we are experiencing right now. And at the same time, how I believe that, Satan, that evil entity existed, but it was misinterpreted. Some being that existed to bring knowledge, that attempted to bring knowledge, just like Jesus tried to come in and present love to humanity. Both of them erased from this world. Both of them in different kind of stories being told, disappear from this world. I don't want to say that they don't exist. To me, the vision of Lucifer, the same vision I have from Jesus. They exist in a different plane where God exists. To me, I don't see it as like, my actions will take me down to hell. And I don't live also my life without thinking that I have no repercussions to my like I have nothing against my actions. I'm not going to have any consequences. And so that was always my belief. And my parents always tend to do, the logical thing. You be raised Catholic, be raised with religion, love. And at the end of it all, that's all I kept really. So I always believe, how the devil looked to me was an entity that existed, attempted to, bring the good for end, was, it was taken the wrong way, brings knowledge, whatever he attempted to do, and outcast to be a villain in this novel. And the same went later on with Christ. He came in, trying to show everybody just love love your neighbor, love, your brother, your sister, just love. An influential man that got taken out of this, or influential being taken out of this plan because he was taken out of, context. It was too much power. I always feel like that's how Lucifer looked to me. The evil, how evil looked to me. It was just portrayed as evil, the horns, dragon creature that will burn, that will burn you to the end of time. And at the same time, I was like, no, that doesn't seem too convincing to me. It was scary to think about it. I went to Catholic school as a kid. But at the same time, as I grew up, I started making my own thoughts. And I was like, okay, so I was able to overcome being afraid from the void.
Yeah.
Coping in a way as like, okay, I'm making all these wrong choices. But at the same time, at the end of the road, and if I die, if there's a God, then at that point, I see it in a joking way to cope with it. Which, okay, let's go ahead and sit down. Why do you give me free will? Why do you, allow me to have all these choices, and then you want to punish us for it? And to me, I want to say I cope with it. Maybe there's no punishment, but it helps us right now to grow, to be a good person. That was my approach.
No, and I feel like that's almost every single Christian and Catholic. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, this one is sucking. Late.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I'm sorry. I'm the one that's holding you home late.
We're good.
So, in summary, Ariel, we don't know what the devil looks like. We don't know who or she might be. We're not really going to go into it more because you never know what you could be opening up or I mean, we don't want to know. I mean, I'm all for knowledge, but again, maybe I mean sometimes some
better
things
not
are just
knowing.
not. Yeah, man.
I agree. I agree. And from like my dad's experiences, from like my grandmother's experiences and all that stuff, like I'm good. Y'all can keep that. Like
Yeah,
I'm
no.
good. I would just honestly rather not.
Hard pass.
Hard pass, like, and I feel like I've seen people a few times in my life, and it was a person. It was, human. Were they touched by evil? I don't know. I'm just gonna chalk it up to, the decision that those people wanted to take.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We don't know. Maybe we will find out in the afterlife.
Maybe we will. Maybe it'll be just nothing, which is again terrifying. But maybe.
Or maybe that's your version of hell.
Maybe that
Some
is
people
my
have
version
versions
of
of
hell.
hell just like they have versions of
So
heaven.
that means I'm already going to hell.
I don't know.
When I got put to sleep,
I
there
don't
was
see
nothing.
that's the thing though, is like there have been scientific studies where your brain is still alive. Like even when you're
Dead, yeah,
your
for
brain is still alive.
several minutes, yeah.
So you could be imagining anything.
Yeah.
You could be imagining that you're going to hell. You could be imagining that you're going to heaven.
Yeah.
You don't know because your brain is still alive.
Yeah.
It technically doesn't mean that you actually were there in those places.
Yeah.
All it means is your brain is still alive and it scared the shit out of you or it comforted you. It can strengthen your faith or it can completely deter you from it. We don't know. And then, all these
boy.
paranormal things are always happening. Or not always, but, these paranormal things happen.
Yeah.
So we could just get stuck. But like I said, I feel like that's just energy. We're just energy.
I could just hope for like the ultimate upload at the very end of my life. And that's the reason why my brain stays alive for those amounts of minutes or maybe hours after I pass, is so that I can upload into the ever streaming of data in the universe.
Or maybe you'll be reincarnated. You don't know.
Maybe. There is that. No, man, I'm good. I don't need none of that reincarnated stuff. But thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you. It was worthwhile chasing you for like almost 3 to 4 weeks now.
Sorry.
I'm so
man.
sorry.
Sorry. And then I came in like just for a few minutes, like 1 hour later, 2 hours later.
Oh, he doesn't know.
It's fine.
It's
It's
been-
whatever.
That is just about me.
It's just, it's
Just
just about.
kidding.
I was like, sure, buddy.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I loved your insight. You have really good questions, things I wouldn't have asked.
that was good, man.
You have to post that either way, and I want to see how much I get it. And yeah, I'm like, okay, all right.
I'm in the doghouse, y'all.
Well, there you have it. Finally, after a 3-week safari to capture Abar and Ariel, I was able to get you some great material from these two lovely people, this power couple. Anyways, before I end today's episode, I did want to go ahead and give a big shout out to the girls from the Undercover Coven. I always have a blast talking to these girls. They're hilarious. Sometimes I find myself talking with them during work, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I should probably not be doing this. But anyways, here's the Undercover Coven.
Do you like creepy stories?
True crime?
Cults?
Dogs?
Wait, that has nothing to do with it.
Well, then you should listen to Undercover Coven.
I'm Paula,
I'm Ali.
and Undercover Coven is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher.
And anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
Come join us.
Bye.
All right, well, there you have it. Let us know what we should talk about next. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search 8-Bit Couch altogether. Don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening. It would really help us out to grow. And again, if that doesn't work, just blow on it. Oh, and how the Undercover Coven girls say, bye!